Good morning! Hi cubies and newbies, I am Sunshine. This is the ABCube method for solving Rubik's Cubes. I'm the ABCube tutor. With this method, 4 moves, 8 moves, those 2 patterns solves the entirety of the cube. All you have to do is just select the cube you want to move and apply the formula to it, and the cube itself dictates which columns you're using in order to do that. So, it works on, like I said, every complexity cube. I've got the 2. Here I have the 2, 3, 4, and 5. It also works on every complexity minx. From the 2 to the 3, I have a 7 by, but the 5 demonstrates it just nicely as well. So that's sufficient. Formula A brings a piece to the top. It's done using the bottom row and the right column. It switches these cubes back and forth and twists them as it goes along. And if a set of 6 puts you back to however you started. So if you want to have an effect, you twist the top when it looks the way you want it to look and continue the 6 set with another cube. As this. Out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. And let's say I wanted to keep this cube twisted, move it outside the top to protect it without moving the cube, and continue. And with a set of 6, the rest of the cube is unaffected. So formula A only really affects the top face when you're doing it, when you're working with it. These are in the correct place, but they need to be twisted. So formula A brings this piece up and switches it back. So to twist this piece, you can't twist just one piece. You've got to twist because you've got the set that you're doing is a multiple of 6. So this cube is going to get twisted until it's correct, and then I'm going to finish on this cube. So out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. Okay, that's the way I want it. Slide it out of the way. Keep going with this cube. Out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. That's 4. There's 5. And there's 6. And so because I twisted the top while I was doing that, the top was affected, but the rest of the cube was unaffected. Okay, that's formula A. Formula B, I'll show you when it's solved cube. Top row and 2 columns. So you hold the cube in your hand for formula A or B. You hold the cube in your hand with looking at the front as if it's a spreadsheet with rows and columns, and the arrow represents the single slice you're going to move, and the 2 columns are based on which piece you want to move. The cube dictates what those pieces are. Good morning. Thank you for joining me. So formula B looks like this. Top row, outside columns is going to move these corners up, up, down, down, and the rest of the cube is unchanged. Formula B always only ever moves 3 pieces at a time. Okay, doing it again. This cube is being preserved as we're doing this. So when I move this cube in this direction, where it I moved it away from the action, so the action is then where it had been. So there's an up, there's a second up, there's a down, and there's a down, and this cube stayed the same, and these ones moved. Okay. Once has the effect of clockwise, twice has the effect of counterclockwise, and the third time has the effect of having done nothing. Okay, so that's formula B for the corners. If you change which column, it's always the top row, but if you change which columns you're working on, different pieces move. For example, if you have an outside column and an inside column, you're moving edge pieces, always only 3. And if you're moving 2 inside columns, you're moving center pieces, always only 3. And the same thing on this one, formula A. You kind of have to morph it in your mind to a cube. So bottom row right column will bring this to the top and twist it as it goes along. Out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. Okay, if that's the way I want it, preserve it over here, continue, out, down, and up, out, down, and up. And except for the first corners, A is always done in multiples of 6, so the rest of the cube is unaffected because 6 is the equivalent of 0. And so if you ever have corners that are in the correct place but need to change, you can never have just one quarter. There's always, if there's 2, they're twisted in opposite directions. If there's 3, they're twisted in the same directions. If there's 4, it's a combination of something like that. So to reset these corners, I can do it with white on top, or I can do it with green on top. But what I'm doing here, bottom row and right column is going to switch these and twist this corner, and when it's correct, I'm gonna move it out of the way and continue the rest of the set with the other corner. So out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. Scratch. Hold the cube stable, slide the top to preserve that, and continue going. Finish the 6th set. You don't really have to count, you'll see when it looks right. And then the rest of the cube is unaffected, and we reset the top. So that's formula A. For the middle, if you change which columns you're using, this one's too easy, that one's too smooth. If you change, okay, bottom row right column moves the corners. If you use the middle row and the middle column, then this piece is going to come up here. So you move this piece out of the way, move the space where it's going to land down, move the piece into the space, and piece and space back up again. That gives you what we call boxes. 3 times from the same orientation gets you back to where you started. If you, or you can flip, find 3 other corners. Top, front, and right are the colors that move. And so for this blue to come up to here, I move it away from the action, move the space down, move the piece into the space, and the piece in the space back up again. So that's it. That's all Formula A does. Formula B, if I tried, if I did Formula B with these 2 columns the same way I did Formula B with these two columns, in order to move these 3, because it's shaped differently. If I do the Formula B with these ones, well, I'll show you. Slide up, slide up, slide down, slide down. There was not an interaction on the top to have affected that. But if I use these 2 columns, slide up, slide up, slide down, and it moved 3, there was an intersection on top until it moved these 3 corners. Okay, again, up, up, down, down, and they move clockwise. This one moves here, this one moves here, and this one moves here. So up, up, down, down. You don't ever have to worry about parities on the minxes, but there is an order of operations, because when one of your 2 columns is the center column, meaning that you're affecting the star pieces, it affects non-star pieces as well. So if you do the non-star pieces first and then the non-stars, then you don't have to duplicate any effort. But you can't get a parity on the minx. You can on the cubes. So the cubes, I have an order of operations, but you don't need an order of operations. You can go layer by layer. You can go inside out. I usually do the corners, because every cube has the 8 corners, so you can start the same way regardless of which cube you have. You can get the corners done, and when you get the corners done on a 2x2, your cube is fixed, and on every other face, every other cube, those corners dictate which color each face is going to be. So from that point forward, every piece you have has a correct place to be, and you can just find the pieces that are not where they want to be and throw them in the direction they belong, and they'll pair themselves up. You don't have to worry about inspection and finding a particular piece and working, pairing them up. And then the reductionist method is actually slightly more likely to give you a parity than a direct solve like this. Speaking of which, parities, A and B does not address parities, and you don't have to either. Parity is A parity is something that can happen on a larger cube that couldn't happen on the original. And since the 3x3 was the original, when we all learned the 3x3, and then when the 4x4 came out, we're like, wait, that's illegal, that can't happen. Well, it can. And the reason why it can is because on the 3x3, it also happens on a void cube for the same reason. On a 3x3, every piece has a correct spot to be in order for all of the colors to match on the sides. The absolute center is a single piece internally, and so we started working around it. But if you do not see the center, like on a void cube or on a 4x4, you can't figure, you don't know whether the center is correct or not until you either do or don't have a parity. So if you do have a parity, it's where two pieces and only two pieces are switched. Two pieces and only two pieces are in the incorrect spot. The formula B moves three pieces around. And so if there's only two pieces, meaning this piece wants to be here and this piece wants to be here, or this piece wants to be here and this piece wants to be here, or this piece wants to be here, it doesn't matter. It can appear many different ways. I force them to appear on the same row, so that same slice. But any layer that touches that parity, any inner layer that touches that parity, is a quarter turn off, and you can't tell until you know whether you do or don't have a parity. But if it's a quarter turn off, then that would mean, do I have a parity? I have a parity here prepared. Okay, this one wants to go here, this one wants to go there. So on this layer, on this slice, of the four edges that exist on this slice, two of them are correct and two of them are incorrect. But if I make a single quarter turn in either direction, one of them is correct, we're ignoring the centers, one of them is correct, and now three of them are not. Okay, and you have an algorithm that will solve those three. I do it with formula B. But if you solve it with that slice and that orientation, the parity disappears, poof, all gone. If you've done reductionist, you then have to reset your centers. But the centers were visually correct, but not mathematically correct, because when you have floating center, oblique centers, each piece no longer has one space and one space only where it can be correct. So this particular white corner can be correct touching the orange, blue, white, or it can be correct over here touching the white, blue, red, or it can be correct over here. So each center piece that moves is not solidly, is not stayed. Each piece that moves can be visually correct in one of four places, meaning that you can have the cube look correct while the center is a quarter turn off. But that center being a quarter turn off shows up as a parity for your edges or for your corners. We don't really consider a corner parity to be a parity usually, unless the rest of the cube looks solved, because if we're working with corners, we just say, we can look at it so where there's two is correct and two are incorrect, or you just look at it visually where one is correct and three of them are not, and you fix those three, because you're always moving three pieces around. Okay, who do we have with us today? Good morning, good morning. Hi, you guys. Okay, so I was going to have my minxes ready to work on. I was going to work on those. Does anyone have any questions or what preferences as to what you want me to demonstrate right now? Otherwise, I can just play and do whatever I want to do. But formula A, formula B solves every complexity of n by n by n cube. It'll also solve this one, which is a 3 by 3 by 9, so it's not an n by n cube. Minor adaptation to work on the 9 side on this is that instead of the top row going left and right for the B, every horizontal is 2 instead of 1, so you can access the columns freely. And with that, you can solve that's all that cube as well. So I've been doing this through the week. I've broken it down step by step. The corners are done the same way as you do any other cube, and then the opposite edges is the next step, when then the yellow and white are solved, and then the side edge, you can only do the center for the side edges as a 3x3, and then with the yellow and white left and right, then you work on these edges. And what happens with this is that Formula B, with the adaptation of the top being moved twice each time instead of once, has the effect of doing a bunch of stuff on the right and the center, but for the edges on the left, the only change that's moved is the top back and the front bottom switch. So I just set the pieces onto the left, and until all of the left pieces are set, and then the right pieces are either automatically solved or there's a parity. Parity, same as any other parity, is that the layers are a single quarter turn off. So if this layer has a parity, I correct it on my left side, making a single quarter turn, and then I reset everything on the left, and that parity on the right disappears. So I've done that. The centers are also done with Formula B on the 9 side. So first time chatter. Cheap views on streamview.com. I don't think you're actually a first time chatter. I think that was a spam. Okay. We'll just pretend we didn't see it. So Formula B affects the edges in a specific way. Doing it once affects the edges. Doing it twice puts the edges back. So if I want to work on the centers without affecting the edges, I simply do Formula B twice. So as an example, I line up. This one wants to land here. You can do Formula B on this piece. You can do it twice. So I go slide, slide, first up, slide, slide, second up, first down, second down, keep going, do it again, up, up, down, down, and now my edges have the effect of not being moved, and I move one piece at a time. This piece, okay. We're going to have to, okay, I'm going to put, in placing this blue piece where it wants to be, the red piece is going to come down, and then I'll have to do it the other direction. So we try to avoid opposites, but we can't always. So it's lined up, slide up, slide up, slide down, and again, up, up, down, down, set the top, blue is done. Okay, moving this red up will bring this orange down. So slide up, slide up, slide down, slide down, slide up, slide up, slide down, slide down. And because it's the same pattern with same muscle memory pattern, instead of using the letters for each layer, each face, my brain works more visual than the algorithms. The reason why we came up with the algorithms in the first place was because back 40 years ago, we did not have streaming Twitch. We had to communicate only through text-based communication. Communicate from one place to another place was only text-based communication, but by hooking the computers together. The cube came out before the internet, so we had to do in order to communicate with instantly, like by telephone or through the equivalent of a chat. We had to label each face and each face and each place. So that's where the standardized notation came from. This book that I learned, this is the book that the first world record holder wrote, And this is the book that I bought at the corner store to learn. And these were both written before there was standardized notation. For example, this one we've named each face, but they didn't name all the faces because it's right and left and bottom and top. So we did not have an up and down so that the B could be used for the back. We just didn't affect the back, we just turned the cube. And then instead of B and B prime, or left and left prime, plus meant turn clockwise, minus meant turn counterclockwise. So these were written before standardized notation. And as was this one. But it's more visual. This guy, total intimidation back in the day. I could do the cube in 3 minutes, and then I watched him on TV, and he was, it was 24 point something seconds, and I was so discouraged, intimidated, that I put my cube down. I didn't pick it up for a month, because I'm like, that can't compete with that. But it was too fun. Couldn't leave it down. So then I started because I'd memorized the book. Everyone had the cube. All the kids had the cube, but very few people could solve it unless they bought the book and memorized it. So I started teaching. My friends are like, "Hey, can you teach me?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I can." And so I'd start teaching them, and then they're like, "Will you teach my friend too?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And then they're like, "Will you teach my friend's friend?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And so then I had every recess. I was in middle school. Every recess, there would just be a cloud of people around me, and they would show me their cubes one at a time, and I'd show them what to do. Draw with my finger on their cube and show it to do, and they would, while they were doing it, someone else would put the cube in their hand, and that was just that. That was lunch and recess for me. And magically, I would. I don't know what the percentage of cubers who are neurodivergent happens to be, but I am, and so being neurodivergent, I was bullied a lot. And one day, I just realized, you know what? Nobody's been bullying me for the last couple of days. I wonder what's going on. And then, like a couple days later, the main bully, the ringleader, was there in my cloud of people, and waited for a pause and said, "Will you teach me too?" I said, "Absolutely." So all of the bullying stopped because being able to solve the cube was more fun than bullying me. So this knowledge, not this method. It was just this method, which is similar to what we now call the beginner's method. But it managed to help me emotionally and physically survive middle school and high school. Okay, so here's a red. Wants to go here. It's lined up. Top, first up, second up, first down, second down, and then again, up, up, down, down. Because what happens, and there you go, it's solved. Because what happens is with formula B, like I said, every odd number flips these two, and then every even number flips them back, and every third number these three pieces are moving. So it goes like this, and then like that, and then back. So so a total of 6 gets you back to start. I can demonstrate that. There's up, up, down, down, and nothing on the back happened, nothing else has changed. These two flipped, and these two flipped, and these three moved one position. This one came here, this one came here, this one came there. If I do it again, up, up, down, down, and this piece from here then moved here. High school bus, and then one more, up, up, down, and down, again, up, up, down, down, okay? And so, once more, up. So anyway, so that's what happens. But it's still, I learned by muscle memory, so muscle memory, it's the same movement. Because based on which pieces you want to move, up, up, down. What am I doing wrong? I'm talking and solving at the same time. Up, up, down, down, and set the top. So, when you're dealing with large cubes, like I said, the corners being set first means that you don't have to rely on the directions method of solving like a 3x3 at the end. Each piece has a correct pace. You just throw it in the direction where it goes, and they will pair themselves up. You don't have to worry about inspection time and pairing. And with the larger cube, once the corners are in place, I do the edges because they all have a specific place. And when the edges are done, they visually help me keep track of which columns I'm working on for the centers. So, nice to see you, school bus. I know you've asked for Zoom, and we've arranged to do that tomorrow, and possibly this evening when I Zoom again, when I Twitch again. Also, I have been Twitching using Twitch Studio, and Twitch Studio is going away, so I'm going to have to figure out how to Twitch without using the Twitch Studio app. So there might be some confusion around the end of this month when it comes to me streaming. So, I don't have it set up, or I would say yes. So, but if you have any questions you want me to demonstrate, though, school bus, I'm happy to do that. I have my 2x2 minks, just like you had a 2x2 mink, so I thought I'd bring that out as well. All right, so that's, unless anybody has any questions for me, I'm gonna let that be a day, and I will be back here this evening to stream again. And this time we'll be able to Zoom. Anybody who would like to join me for Zoom can do so, up to 4 people at a time. I can, of course, have up to 100 people, but I have to be able to see your screens and what your cube looks like so I can help you. So if you have any non-cuber friends who want to learn, I can teach that in real time. Or if you want to if you have a cube and want to help me demonstrate how the different cubes all work the same way, like if I had one person with a 2x2 and one person with a 5x5 and one person with a minks, I could help them. I could do that. We do a setup for everyone and then the formula for everyone, and so that's my original goal in being able to create this stream, was to be able to teach in real time. Because as much as I love chatting more than I love monologuing, I love teaching more than I love monologuing. So because there's just the look in people's faces when they think they can't do it and then suddenly it makes sense to them is just priceless for me. I love it. And like I said, I began teaching the cube back in '81, so I did not come up with this method, though. It took me a few years to come up with it. Actually, that's not true. It took me a few months to come up with it, and then a few years to alpha test it to make sure it was functional and it would work on every cube, and then another few years to translate it from the 3x3 perspective to the 5x5 perspective. So if you have any non-cuber friends, bring them my way if they want to, and if you want to, and if you have any publisher, agent friends, do bring them my way as well. I'm in the process. I've written this all as a manuscript, and I'd love to get it published as a book. I know it's online. I know everyone can see it. I know YouTube exists. I know all this, but I'm old, and I want to be able to hold it in my hand with the other books and say, "Look, I did this one. I did this one." So that is my goal, to be able to get it into stores, physical stores, but also virtual stores. Like, I'd love to be able to, if this book could sell with every teaching cube set that goes out, that would just be a thrill of my life. So I'm in the process of doing that. I'm in the process of creating the cheat sheets and merchandise. So let me know what merchandise you're interested in as well. Happy to hear from you guys. Happy to chat with you. You can email me. You can find my method online. You see where it says www.abcube.how. It's actually just abcube.how. The www is superfluous, but that's supposed to be a dot, not a comma. So there's a typo there. Sorry about that. But if you go to abcube.how, you will find my method. And if you go to but my email is abcube.how@gmail.com. So you're welcome to. I also have a YouTube, etc. Blah. Which I try to keep on top of everything. I'm great at teaching the cube, not great at managing my brand. So which is still a learning curve for me. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. And I appreciate being able to look and see names there instead of just avoid. So I feel like I'm communicating with you. And so come back tomorrow or this evening, and I'll be Zooming with School Bus and anybody else who wants to. So in the meantime, go have a good day. Be nice to yourself. Drink lots of water. Go walk in the sunshine. Go be happy because you deserve it. And I will be back here this evening. Bye, you guys.